YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today we're here to do a Caribbean book haul because in the last few months I've gotten some books by Caribbean authors, and because I didn't do a book haul for a couple of months, I didn't really show them to you properly. Some of them are books that I've read already, and so you've heard me talk about them, but I thought it would be good to just revisit some of those books in its own book haul. So here we are today to talk about some of these books that I have gotten by Caribbean authors. Some of them are books that I bought myself, but a few of them are gifts. Like this one was a gift from the author, and it came signed, which is fantastic. This is entitled These Ghosts Are Family. The author is Maisy, and she is a fantastic woman because she's a librarian, so you know her entire life is devoted to books. This one, I first listened to the audio version from the library, and so I really wanted to get my own copy, and this was a gift because of my participation in Read Caribbean during June. So this was a fantastic reward for doing something that I already wanted to do. But back to the book. These Ghosts Are Family is about a Jamaican family, and it traces their lineage through present day, and then it goes back and talks about some of their origins during slave times. And it is a fantastic look at a family and how generational curses can be manifested, how when you don't deal with issues, how they can continue in your life but also in the lives of your children and your children's children, and this was fantastic. You remember the book? Mommy was listening to it? Yeah. So the story starts with a man named Abel who steals his friend's identity because these two friends, they're in England working and they're very similar in appearance. When one of them dies and there's no one to really identify his body, the friend, the character in this book, decides that he's going to pretend to be the other person, and so for all intents and purposes, he died and he's now able to slip into this man's identity and have a completely different life, able to leave his family behind. And as he gets older, he starts to regret some of the choices that he made, but also starts to experience the consequences of some of his decisions. This was a fantastic story about Jamaica and about family and about responsibility. It touched on so many aspects of Jamaican culture because, like I said, it's present day, it talks about immigration. It is in the recent past, talks about police brutality and persecution and political differences, and then it goes back and it talks about enslavement and the mixed heritage that came about and how people dealt with those things. So, like I said, I love this book, and I'm going to be rereading it very soon because I want to reread the print copy and just like make a ton of notes in it. Next book that I want to share with you was The Starside of Bird Hill by Naomi, and I read this one a few years ago because I got a copy from the library, but I really wanted to reread it and I wanted to own my own copy, so I bought it. I also follow Naomi on Instagram, and she's fantastic. She's a new mom as well, and so we have a lot in common. Yeah. This book, however, I want to talk about is, like I said, it is set a big part of it is set in Barbados, and it is following two sisters. They're the daughters of Bayesian immigrants born in New York, but after there is some issue in their family, their parents send them to Barbados to spend what at first seems to be a summer holiday with their grandmother. But after the situation with the family escalates, it becomes more of a long-term plan, and these sisters are really not here for it. So it talks about the assimilation of children of immigrants living in the United States who are forced to make a home in their parents' home country, and the difference in experiences, but also the difference in expectations. So it's also pretty interesting to see how people are different as grandparents than they were when they were parents. So we see flashbacks and memories, and there's a lot of discussion just about the culture of Barbados. And I remember really being impacted by this book but not loving it because there were some things that I thought were inconsistent. But in the years since I've read it, I have learned some things about life. And so I think that I'm going to be better able to appreciate some of the nuances in this book and maybe even love it more now than I did back then. So this is another book that I bought recently, Bayesian. And the author, I think she was born in the United States, from daughter of Bayesian immigrants as well. So I think, the story of these two sisters is probably based a little bit on her own experience. I'm not sure. This is me projecting. I bought Patsy by Nicole Dennis-Benn, and this is the author of Here Comes the Sun, and Patsy was her 2018 or 2019 release. But this is a fantastic book, and this was a complete 5-star rating for me just because I really thought that the author is excellent at describing scenes so vividly that it feels like you were there. And so her descriptions of Jamaican life and Jamaican culture and the experiences of Jamaican people in Jamaica, as well as the experiences of the immigrant trying to assimilate, trying to integrate, trying to find a new identity, I thought was fantastic. I think that Nicole Dennis-Benn is a master at writing vivid imagery. The authenticity of her writing is probably a little bit of a shock to the system just because of how deep she goes into some situations. The book triggered some adverse reactions in some readers because the author presented this very unlikable main character who, as a mother, abandons her child, and it's just very difficult to read about a mother who doesn't want to be a mother. And because the author presents this very polarizing subject, it almost in the beginning forces you to choose a side as to whether or not you can empathize with this main character and how you experience the rest of the book based on how you feel about this woman and the choices that she's made. So thankfully I was never abandoned, and maybe because I wasn't necessarily triggered by that situation, I was able to experience the book in a different way. But like I said, I think that this is excellent writing, not necessarily likable, but excellent. So highly recommend this one. It was a 5-star rating for me, but I know other people had very different reactions to it. And then we get to an author who I'm late in discovering, but I found his writing this year and I absolutely love it. So Kai Miller is the author of Auguston, which I think I shared in my previous Caribbean book haul, which wasn't a specific Caribbean book haul, but you know what I mean. But since then, I bought 2 more of his books, The Same Earth and The Last Warrior Woman, and I haven't read this one yet, so I can't talk too much about it, but I read The Same Earth a couple of months ago, and I absolutely loved it. This one is set in Jamaica. Oh, did I mention, Kai Miller is a Jamaican author, but he lives in England. And so he writes about the experience of living in Jamaica, but he also writes about the experience of the immigrant going to another country and what that is like. And in this book, he talks about the immigrant who leaves Jamaica, goes to live someplace else, and then returns to Jamaica and has to try to re-assimilate, and how the different experiences that other people have had when they travel, how they inform someone's expectations as they leave the country. Another thing that this author does really well is to investigate the backstory. So he presents all these characters and gives us the incidences in their life that have prepared them to be at this place where this story that now needs to happen is happening. And I think that he is skilled at that. I mean, I love that in his books. I love that quality of how he shows. I love that quality how he shows how people come from very different backgrounds, and he shows you that background and gives you a place to decide whether you agree with a person's decisions, whether you can see how they have become the product of their experiences, and how that makes you feel about what they're doing right now. Kai Miller is a fantastic author, I think, and so I've read this one, The Same Earth, and I also want to share this one with you, but haven't read it yet, so I'm going to be reading and talking about it pretty soon. What are you doing down there? But that's what it needs to be. So, Two more books. Maryse Conde did a retelling of Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, and it's called Windward Heights, and it's set in Guadeloupe, which is where Maryse Conde is from. But the main character in this one, who is the Heathcliff from Wuthering Heights, the Heathcliff adapted character, his name is Razier. And we first meet him when he is in another country. We first meet him in another country, and we see his experience as an immigrant traveling through the Caribbean, how other people relate to him. The book is also set in the generation right after the emancipation of slavery, and so we see the experiences of black people who have been enslaved but now are living and working in freedom, but we also see the discrimination that they face. The discrimination of white versus black, but also the different treatment of the mulatto characters, and the ability that a person has to kind of work their way into financial upliftment, but the fact that they can't escape the color of their skin and the determination that that has for a person's destiny. I think that this is a fantastic book in its themes, although the writing is a little bit hard to get through in places. Maryse Conde is a fantastic writer, I think. She writes very plainly about xenophobia and how people from one country in the Caribbean think about people from other places in the Caribbean. She also highlights the experience of people of East Indian origin who have made their life in the Caribbean and how they are perceived and how they perceive others in their new environment. So here she presents people from so many different backgrounds and show how, even though they're experiencing some of the same physical circumstances, that their experiences on an emotional and intellectual level are so very different. The book incorporates so many thematic studies that it is wonderful to read, but the writing could be a little bit dense for someone who doesn't have the same passion for Caribbean literature as I do. So I'm not sure, maybe you wouldn't love this as much as I did, but I really enjoyed it. And this is translated fiction. The author, like I said, she's from Guadeloupe, which is a French territory in the Caribbean, if you're not familiar. And her husband is her translator. So Maryse Conde writes in French and is translated to English by Richard Philcox, this one. I read another book by her recently, but that was from the library, so I don't own my own copy, but I do want to read and own more books by Maryse Conde, so you're probably going to be hearing more about her from me. And then the last book that we got that just came yesterday, and it was a fantastic surprise, and it is Get Up, Stand Up. This is by Cedella Marley, adapted from her father Bob Marley's music, and she's taken some of her father's popular songs and adapted them for children's books, and I think it's a fantastic idea to just spread the positive messages that are in Bob Marley's music and introduce them to children at a young age, and this is wonderful. The other book that we have for her is a board book, and this one has the more terrible pages, so I'm not going to be able to give this to her to play with yet in the same way that she could play with the board book, but I'll be reading it to her, and I'm so excited. I don't know who sent it to us. It came in a package from Hachette Book Group, but the publisher on the back of the book is Chronicle Kids, and the invoice only says it's a gift. And I think I remember having a conversation with someone or a publisher some months ago about this book and maybe requesting a copy, but I can't remember when and where exactly, so I don't even know who to say thank you to for it, except the package says it came from Hachette Book Group and the back says Chronicle Kids. So I'm just going to thank everyone who's associated with us getting a copy of this book, and I am just so excited. It came yesterday. We had a long day yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to read it last night, but we're probably going to be reading it tonight for bedtime. The full lyric from the song is get up, stand up for your rights, which it does say on the back. Oh, look at this. So this book is very timely because it's about activism. It's about the peaceful protest. It's alright. Okay. Alright, go. So it's about what you need to do to exert your rights, and I guess that's her exerting her rights to go walking. So I'm very excited to have this book along with every other book. So yeah, those are 7 books by Caribbean authors that I have gotten recently. I didn't mention the illustrator for this one is John J. Kabue, and I should show you because it is fantastic. Fantastic. So those are 7 books by Caribbean authors that I have gotten recently, and I think there are a couple more, but I'll share them next time. So for now, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments down below what book you've acquired recently that you are most excited about. If you have a book by a Caribbean author that you bought because of Caribathon, or just a book by a Caribbean author that you bought recently or been gifted, I'd love to hear about that too. So let's chat in the comments down below. And give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe if you want to see more. Check out the links in the description box if you'd like to support this channel. There are lots of ways that you can check us out. And let's talk in the comments. And until next time, you can't end the video. You can't end the video like that. You must smile. Until next time. Happy reading. Bye. Wait. Until next time, happy read. Yes, smile. Thank you.
Hey, hello. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight.